Welcome to the ShodCast week 13. 13 weeks in, and we've got playoff scenario generators brought to you by Rafi Bombs over here in the lower left-hand corner. Rafi Bombs, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Doing pretty good. Hopefully my internet keeps up out here.
We'll see how it goes. I can't imagine it's going to be too terrible for you, but we'll make it through. We'll make it work and do what it does. Matt, Mike, how's it going?
Good to be here.
Hello, Sean.
Always good to have you guys here.
Good to be here.
We're going to have a really good show. We've got playoff scenarios coming up. But first... Who's that Pokemon? Your hints last week.
Derek.
Who? What?
Derek Henry.
Derek Henry. Derek Henry. We got a guess of Derek Henry, and I think, Matt, you're guessing the same thing. Kevin, this is 2019 AFC running back. He broke out with 300 points, 16 TDs, caught a couple more, but his 20 points didn't help make the show great again. Saying the same thing?
I have a long-standing rivalry with Travis Henry, so not Travis Henry, Derek Henry.
Okay.
So I can't guess him. So anyone other than him. I have the field. I lost.
Yeah, it's obviously Derek Henry. Yeah. Derek Henry this week. I made it too easy for you, didn't I?
0 for 1.
Yeah, you have to find like a happy medium between picking some scrub from 2009 and Derek Henry.
I gotta find that tier 2 flex from 2019. All right. Let's go into the recap of last week. We had a lot of movement, and we're going to talk a little bit about it afterwards. Rusty Truckers, VBB, the truckers trucking through. Matt, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say here. I think, what this boils down to is, Van Buren boys missing out on quarterback that was playing pretty well for him, Justin Fields, and, quarterback play was not his friend this week. Russell Wilson only had 8 points, and, even Kyle Allen on my squad outscored him. So that's where I think he fell short, and the receivers didn't help him either. So luckily able to get enough to win this week and keep my first position here.
Flutie Flakes coming up with a big win, 149.9. Is that the high score again? Did he get the high score again this week? To 99.66.
Yeah, he beat me by 0.2.
That's rough. Well, why don't you take this one, Height? Because there's a lot to talk about on Flutie Flakes, but I think there's one character in particular.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to talk about Josh Jacobs, who he left the game several times. They were worried about his calf, I think. But then he came back. The game went to overtime, and he rattled off like an 80-yard game-winning touchdown run. So he got the points from the yardage, the touchdown, and then the long touchdown bonus. So hats off to the Flakes on an absolute tear currently. Not a team that anybody should want to play. And going from the laughingstock of the league to possibly being,
Spoiler.
a bubble team.
Make the show great again, coming up with a big win over the Charbacues, 111-106. Kevin, why don't you talk about this one? Make the show great again, making an appearance in the playoffs?
Yeah, a big win. Not really what Make the Show Great Again is really counting on to get in there. He's really hoping to squeeze out that 7 seed for most points. So he's really hoping that he can capitalize on a couple big weeks in weeks 13 and 14 because according to my chart, that's his most likely way of getting into the playoffs.
Next matchup here. Let's go back to you, Kevin. Rafi Bombs, 103.96 to 81. I mean, this is the basement battle. And what do you want to say about it?
Yeah, two teams that are just kind of hoping the season ends. Nothing to really play for, just filling out the rosters.
Just going through the motions.
Yeah, just going through the motions. Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, Andy Dalton. When those are 3 of the 4 quarterbacks in Superflex, you might flex that game out.
That one's being flexed to London again.
Yeah, that would. You know what? At the beginning of the season, I bet you that's a primetime game, but that got flexed out real fast.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Mike. You came up with the points you needed here: 149.7 to 95 over track.
Yeah, got the win and a big point total, which was exactly what we needed. You know, kind of closing the gap on Darren, which Kevin will talk about at some point soon. But yeah, I mean, just about everybody on my team showed up. It could have even been a better week, to be honest. Mark Andrews had a touchdown in his hands and just dropped. You know, at that point in time, the Thanksgiving Classic was very tight, and that could have been an extremely costly drop for the boys. But everybody came through. So,
yeah, really quick before we move on, I just want to say, like, we have not been giving Ramondre Stevenson enough love. Like, he has been absolutely stellar player this year.
Let's actually take a moment and dive into Ramondre Stevenson here.
He's been a big part of keeping this team in the playoff picture. What is he, like, running back 7 or something like that? He's pretty high up there.
He is running back 8. But here's what I really like about Stevenson is that he hasn't had a sub 10-point performance since week 2.
Yeah.
Huge.
Very consistent.
Huge.
$4.
That's nice for you. That could
So
be
that's
a Steve Wilson
Ford nominee.
Yeah, could be a nominee. We'll have to get Steve on the line probably second week in the playoffs to talk about that stuff.
Does Steve know who Ramondre Stevenson is?
He will soon. All right, Rusty Truckers VBB. Did we already touch on this game?
We did go over that one already.
Pre-game.
Yep.
No,
we did that one first.
Yeah, we already
did
that
one first.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Feel the Rush, getting yet another win. 116-101 over Jay Walsh football team. Matt.
Yeah, this is same old thing here. Feel the Rush is cranking out wins, win after win after win. I really don't think his team is as bad as the general consensus says. I think he's actually got a pretty decent team, and he's starting to kind of come into his own and get healthier again. So it's a team that hung on long enough to get the wins he needed to be able to get to the postseason, and then now he might actually be a threat. So we were laughing before, but I think the laughing needs to probably stop because he's kind of becoming a little scarier at this point.
He's not scary.
He'll go as far as the quarterbacks go. His quarterback's weak point.
Good luck if you play him, Mike. Yeah. I don't know.
First nominee.
If he gets anything decent out of his quarterbacks, the rest of his team is pretty scary. But both those quarterbacks have the opportunity to put up a 5 or 6 point game at any point.
All right. So what game did we miss here? Did we miss Charbacues make the show great again? I think we hit that one, or did we hit all of them?
I think we did all the games.
I did that one.
Oh, did we?
All right, I think we did all the games then. Let's talk about playoff scenarios. I'm going to open up the projected playoff bracket here. This is what it currently looks like with the 7 seed being Fat Jim's. Would that be correct, Kevin?
Yeah, that was correct.
So how can this change? What are we looking at?
Pull up the standings one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the standings.
All right, so
with your points.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about is first place. First place between, I think that's a 3-horse race at this point. Although obviously the 2 people at the top are the favorites, but I think Van Buren boys still has a shot. I mean, the weeks 13 and 14 are no joke. Rusty Truckers and my team is fine. Still have to show up to clinch that number 1 seed. Obviously, Rusty Truckers with already 10 wins has the inside edge, and then he would just have to look to outscore my team is fine in week 14. But that's an interesting one. Most points, I think the dog is kind of pulled away a little bit. Not that Rusty Truckers is, completely out of it by now, but he would need 2 pretty big weeks to catch him for most points. So that's the look up top. I don't know if you guys have any other comments about the first seed and most points.
No, not really. I mean, I think that's accurate. I think it would take quite a feat for me to catch Vince at this point in points. I think he's got it pretty well locked up unless he's got to lay a stinker, and I've got to have a big week in order for that to happen. So,
I mean, you're down by 50 points.
Yeah.
60 points.
Yeah, not crazy, but pretty big. I mean, Height, what I mean, the quote unquote projections. I mean, you outscored that by quite a bit this week, and you know, if you were to put up 150 like Height did this week, and my team is fine were to do what Fat Jim's did this week, which barely get to 100, there's your 50 right there in 1 week. So it's not crazy, but probably not likely with the way those two teams are playing. And then the next thing I want to talk about are the 5-win teams. I don't think any of the 5-win teams are out of it yet. They would need some help. Lafferty would need to lose out, and the Nation and Fed Gyms would need to lose out. All three of those teams would basically need to lose out to give any of those 5-win teams a shot to make it just as the 6th seed, not necessarily the most points. All of the 5-win teams, other than Make the Show Great Again, are probably eliminated if it's talking about the 7 seed. But there's a crazy scenario that could happen that those teams could bump up into the 6th seed, which is held by Muppet Nation right now with 6 wins. In fact, you know what? You can even ignore Lafferty because he's at a 5 seed. You only need to get to the 6th seed. So those 5-win teams, if they can win out and get a little help, they are by far not out of it quite yet.
Now, sorry to be selfish here and only think about the Nation, but that's what I'm going to do. Is there any way that the Nation loses out? Let's assume they score about 100 points a week, and they're going to stay in that top 4 points. There's no way that they miss the playoffs, right? They've got to have bad games.
Well, scroll down a little bit. Let me get.
Yeah, I think if you lose out and Darren
outscores you by
has some big weeks,
40.
I think you would
It's only 40. That's your scenario. Actually, you lose out and Darren outscores you by 45 points.
Yeah. Plus, the other thing is none of those other fringe teams like Mike or Fat Jim's, they have to also, win. Probably not. They have to cooperate as well, because if there are scenarios where Muppet Nation could still get in as high points if he's the 7th seed, and like it's possible that Make the Show Great Again and Muppet Nation can both get in, and then you get like Neil missing, for example.
Yeah, it's Muppet Nation is got to be in the best position as far as the points as a fallback, as well as you only need 1 win to kind of really clinch it in there. So it's not likely, but the 5-win teams are not eliminated at all, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean it just sucks because Rob is essentially the only thing fucking this up, because it would be if Rob wasn't involved, it would legitimately be the 7 best teams making the playoffs.
Well, would you like the scenario that Rob misses?
Oh, I think I know it, but I would love to hear the actual breakdown.
All right, Muppet Nation 2 wins, Fat Jim's 2 wins, Lafferty 1 win, Feel the Rush 1 loss.
That's it.
No, I'm sorry, I apologize. 2 losses.
Okay.
Feel the Rush would need to lose.
They got to lose out.
They'll lose out. Nation, Jim's, Lafferty all get to 8 wins, and then Make the Show Great Again would make it on the points.
So again,
that
very
would be
unlikely. I find it interesting. Lafferty is in the bubble conversation here because he's got 7 wins. It's going to be really tough for one of those 5-win teams to bump him out. Yeah.
No. If Lafferty, even if Lafferty wins one of his last 2 games. If the Nation and Fat Jim's both end up with 8 wins, if they both win out, then
they got points.
Lafferty would have to hope to catch Make the Show Great Again in points.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, you're only 20 points behind, so.
But he can make it a lot easier on himself with a win this week, and then all you have to do is finish in the top 7, which I know sounds easier said than done, but that's better than hoping to get lucky in a matchup.
It's true.
Yeah, I think Mike, if you Make the Show Great Again this week, I think you are in.
I agree.
Yes.
I think if you lose, I think it's going to get very, very dicey. I think there's a very good chance you miss.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that all week. Really,
I think I think it boils down to this week, really.
I mean, we talked about this in the pre-show, but it's not a good week for me to have buys in the positions that I do. Having your number one quarterback out is tough in a must-win situation, essentially.
I'm sorry, Mike. Who's your number one quarterback?
The guy that you said is like Colin Kaepernick, which is not even remotely close to being true.
Oh my goodness, it absolutely is.
They don't play anything like each other.
That's not the point. The point is people look at him that way. People have rose-colored glasses on, just like you, Mike, who think Kyler Murray can do nothing wrong.
Did you watch the game
last week? That's true about every player in the NFL. Every player in the NFL.
That loss was not on Kyler.
I see it a lot more with Kyler, to be honest with you. I mean, being in Arizona, I see this a bit more on my social channels out here, but you see a real, like, black and white, you either love Kyler or you hate him. And the people who love Kyler, no matter what critique you give them, they will give you shit back in your face.
That sounds like sports. That sounds like sports in general.
I just find it to be way more prominent with Kyler Murray. Like,
yeah, I want to see Kyler. I want to see Kyler with a competent coach.
How many times is it going to be the coach's fault for Kyler, though? Like, when does that excuse stop?
Can I add something to the Kaepernick and Murray? Aren't those two of the most distinguishable running styles ever, though? Like, Kaepernick looked like a deer running on the field, and Murray looked
long strides.
Yeah. Like, just if you saw Kaepernick running, you're like, oh, that's Kaepernick. And if you saw Kyler Murray running, you're like, oh, look, there's Kyler Murray.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Two of the most
he runs kind of like a toddler.
Yeah, I mean it's fast versus quick. It's
short, little
different.
choppy steps.
Yeah.
Like I watch Casey running around and she looks like Kyler Murray.
All right, so before we move off this, I want to do one more thing because this is where my team is. There is a vicious race for last place. Okay? it legit is super close. If you scroll down, so Trek, unfortunately, has pretty decent points, but he looks like he's in the driver's seat for last with a record of 2-10. He would need to win out, have NWO and Rafi Bombs lose out. But the second last place between Rafi, Charbarcues, and New World Order, our points couldn't be closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened? So what is it again? I think it's you got to buy pizza, right? Pizza for the champ if you finish in second last.
And beer.
No, I think beer was last place.
Beer is last place is beer, and then some sort of punishment, whatever, or something else goofy, and then the second last is. I also thought there was supposed to be something for second place, but maybe that's something I was confused about. But yeah, it's a very interesting. I mean, that's the thing though. When it comes to last place, I think last place and second last place, it's good to have a punishment because it forces you to keep playing. It forces you to keep like these. My matchup this week against Neil means a lot to a lot of other people in the league.
Yep.
And if I just checked out and didn't care and just wrote it off, it screws over everybody else in the league. But since I have something to play for and not finishing last, and I would play it through anyways just because I find it fun. But
well, if you mailed it in too, you'd never be welcome back on the shot.
Well, right, that too.
Banned.
But
great point though, Simpson. Banned. Like. The integrity is important. The integrity of the league, and if you're, out there not caring and not starting people, and just kind of checking out because you're not going to make the playoffs, it does have implications on the rest of the league, and that's not fair to the players or the teams that are really trying to make the playoffs and beat out Thatchins.
I think we're pretty lucky not to. We don't have a lot of anyone really in the league that I think would do that. Like, I couldn't think of anyone who would just be like, whatever, I'm not sending my lineup because it's week 13 and I'm out. Like, it's week 7 and I don't know that somebody's broke their leg 3 days ago is the reason it doesn't get their lineup set. But it's not I'm quitting because I'm losing and so screw this. Like, luckily,
which player was that? What quarterback was that?
Alex
Smith. That's right. Yeah. That's amazing.
Near amputation.
Yes.
starting the following week.
Just one more point on Rob. I think I looked it up this week. I believe he had 6 weeks in a row where he scored under 100 points, and he still managed to go 2-4 in those 6 weeks.
Scrappy team.
Apparently.
Yeah. If you look at Rob Cav's team right now, they are not as bad as we have been saying. Like, I get that they have not put up a lot of points, but when you look at his team top to bottom, I mean, there are some players in here who are potential game breakers. When Swift gets healthy again, he's a potential game changer. He's got some quarterback depth. Granted, they're not great quarterbacks, but there are a lot of guys he can kind of put in for different matchups. Amon-Ra is really good. Devontae Adams is excellent. Jamal Williams has been productive in scoring points. You know, if Swift isn't healthy, he's a great option. I mean, Gerald Everett with a receiving core in Los Angeles that's banged up is a higher option in the passing game, and he's put up some points here and there. Now, Gabriel Davis is polarizing in this, in this league, but I think that he's got the potential to explode as well. So, and Montgomery's been productive. He's not flashy, but he scores points.
And Herbert got hurt.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like Rob is, although he's not had great point weeks, like we're catching him at his pinnacle right now. He's starting to ramp up and be as good as he's going to be right now. And he's already got the wins. He's already got the playoff position. He just needs to, get the potential out of these players now at this point. And I just don't. He's legitimate now. I think I think it was laughable before, but I think he's now a legitimate team.
All right.
Yeah, I still go back to it'll really depend on what happens with his quarterbacks. Like, if his quarterbacks can pump out 15 points, then it's a dangerous team. But if they put up 6 points, it's going to hurt. Like, banking on Mac Jones in the playoffs, obviously Stafford getting hurt doesn't help. He also had Zach Ertz got hurt, right? He had Zach Ertz. Like, that hurts his tight end. If Derek Carr throws up a dud with Adams, he's in trouble. But, I agree with you. He's got the ceiling, but he also has a terrible floor.
Matt, I got a question for you. Season ends right now, just knee-jerk reaction. Who are you choosing to play in?
That's a good question.
In the playoffs.
Wow.
Let's say you're the 2 seed. You get to choose any of the playoff teams to choose. Who are you choosing right now? Just knee-jerk reaction. It doesn't need to be the legit one.
Yeah, my snap pick is my brother, I think, at this point. I think, he doesn't really scare me anywhere. Like, I don't look at any one of his players and think, oh, man, I'm worried about playing this team. I think he's got some guys who are solid. Like, Chubb's been good all year. Godwin is now healthy and playing well. Joe Burrow obviously is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But I just feel like I can beat him. And, a lot of the other teams, I just feel like if they get a good week, it could be scary for me. And I just don't feel that way about Neil's team with Kupp being hurt.
Interesting. Mike, put yourself in that situation. You're at the top. Do you have the same feeling? Are you choosing Fat Jim's?
I would say probably, but I wouldn't say for sure because, losing Kupp obviously was a huge loss for Neil. That really takes away like the scariest part of his team, like Matt said. So I would probably say that Neil would be the first pick, but I would say it would be a toss-up between he and Rob. Everything that Matt said about Rob's team, I don't agree with. Like, Gerald Everett is not doing anything. He got lucky to catch a 2-point conversion, otherwise he had a terrible game last week. Amon-Ra obviously had a good game against the Bills, but I don't know. I don't see it with Rob's team. He's been squeaking by with like sub 120 wins almost the entire year.
Simpson, same question for you. Let's actually put you in the playoffs. What team are you choosing to play against?
I play Rocky Bombs. I I mean, honestly, like when it comes down to like everyone's like actual rosters, I checked out after the trade deadline because I stopped trying to make a trade. So just by looking at Fat Jim's and Rob, I mean, I think those are the two teams. Again, Rob's weaknesses is quarterbacks. I would love to play, but again, his team is scary with that. But go back to Fat Jim's. I agree. The cut injury obviously takes most of the teeth out of that team. Burrow is scary, but Mariota doesn't scare you very much. So, this is a solid team that I think doesn't have necessarily the ceiling that all the other teams have. So I don't want to just rehash everything Mick said about it, but that's.
Well, here's another thing too I want to add to this with Neil's team. They have said that there's a pretty good chance that when Atlanta's eliminated from playoff contention, Mariota may not start anymore. They may go to Ritter. So that's another reason why it'd be a good team for me to play against, because if they do decide to go to Ritter, then I not only do I get him losing a quarterback, but I also gain a quarterback against him. It's a huge swing in that way.
Until Hurts gets hurt, and then Minshew is the starter.
That's true, and that could happen too. I actually tried to trade for Minshew at the deadline, and Neil was not having any of it.
Yeah.
Really?
Interesting.
Yep. I was going to give him a decent piece. I would have traded him Kyron Williams. I would have traded him like a decent piece, and he said no.
While we're on the subject, do the Truckers have a QB2 problem? Are you comfortable heading into the playoffs with what you got?
I mean, it's definitely the weakest part of my team, but I still have Houston's quarterback conglomerate locked up. There's still, the floor is still 8 points or so, which is something I'll take every week, given the rest of my roster. The patellar tendinosis issue with McCaffrey is much, much, much more concerning to me than the situation with Houston's quarterbacks. If it were to come down to it, I could just start like George Pickens or whatever receiver in my OP slot and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more concerned about McCaffrey at this point.
When you guys were picking the teams, I'm really surprised because we talked about this pre-show. The team I would pick is Van Buren boys.
You don't want to mess with.
Well, again, look at the roster right now. They're playing without Justin Fields. So what part of this team scares you?
Well, I guess that's a huge question mark. Is what is Fields' status going forward? Because the Bears have no shot of making the playoffs, and if they believe that he's the quarterback of the future, like from everything I've read, like his shoulder can get worse if he keeps getting abused on it. So, what's the point in playing him the rest of the season?
Right.
Especially with the way he plays.
And he's got a bye week 14 anyhow. So
yeah,
if I were the Bears, I'd rest him up until at least week 15. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first week of playoffs.
Right, and then he's got Philly that week, which is a tough matchup. So yeah,
I think he's somewhat matchup proof because of the way he plays.
Fields.
Yeah, I guess to some degree that's true, but at the same time, I would much rather have my quarterback playing against a bad defense than a good one.
Some wisdom right there.
I mean, his choices at QB here are almost as bad as yours, Matt, and he doesn't
Wouldn't it be wild though if all of a sudden Russell Wilson just like wakes up?
That would be something, given the way he's playing.
He had a birthday BJ that turned him on.
Yeah, rolls 3 straight 30-point games.
Here's my countercline to your VBB hate. Okay, so number one, Hopkins is on a bye, so you're not seeing him in the starting lineup. That's going to sway your decision here. Like Boyd can easily be sat, Kirk can easily be sat. We've got Justin Fields, who we've already talked about. We've got, I think, really, by far and away one of the best players in the league, Travis Kelce, who is, in terms of tight end position, way better than the next person. A.J. Brown is he's a ticking time bomb. He can go off at any time with a huge number, and that's something I don't really want to have to deal with.
I don't want to cut you off, but I think this affects you too. It goes with A.J. Brown. Are you worried at all about Philly rest? Like, aren't they like 4 games up in the division?
Well, I think they're still going to try to play for the bye. You know, I think that is
How
going to.
close are they to the bye though? I thought the NFC is just like garbage.
No, the Vikings are right there.
NFC East is still pretty tight.
Right.
I mean, Dallas is right there. The Commanders are right there.
No, I didn't mean to cut. I was just worried about if all of a sudden they're out of it, and you're like, oh man, they're gonna sit Hurts for the second half of the championship game.
No, I'm more worried about a Hurts injury than the Eagles sitting him because of playoff position.
He took some shots last week.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can get hurt at any time. Like
that would be
your team can go to hell at any moment. You know.
Right.
I mean, you just have to hope that you have some good depth and you can step it up and make up for it in other places. Hurts is pretty indispensable because he's so good and because my quarterback position is not deep. I don't have a third one to throw in there. But, I mean, that's playing what if. I mean, what if anybody's top player gets hurt? Like, you're going to be screwed, right? I mean, like this league is too competitive for you to, be able to weather the storm of losing your best guy. I mean, look at Neil. He was up towards the top of the league until Cup went down, and now he's a fringe playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And he just lost one guy.
And that's the other thing too. Like when Klein was going through VBB, is just like he has too many of those guys that just like, from week to week, there's a chance that they're going to put up 35 plus. And it's just not something you want a chance during the playoffs.
But also,
let somebody else go up against him.
Yeah, I will say AJ Brown also has a chance to put up 2 points. He could put up 35, but he could put up 2.
He's a monster.
Yeah, he's not in danger of putting up 2 points.
I mean, he put up 1.7 just a couple weeks ago.
Was he hurt?
Fast.
I mean, let's go check him out. AJ Brown. You guys think he's some unstoppable receiver? Look at his past 4 weeks. He's barely scored over 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing that he could be doing better, but how would you like to play him in week 8?
Yeah, but I mean, again, we're talking about
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Outlier weeks.
Well, he's got the ability. There's not a lot of players in the league, Klein, who can do that, though.
Yeah. Right.
That's the scary part. Like, there's only
so who are you more scared to play against, AJ Brown or Josh Jacobs?
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown and Travis Kelce also.
That's tough. I mean, I think at this moment I'm probably a little more scared of Jacobs because he's been a little more consistent. But I mean, I also think that AJ Brown he's due for a big game. And I think, like, when teams have an elite talent like A.J. Brown and they know he hasn't been playing well lately, they tend to force a huge game and get him out of a rut. Like, the Eagles have a playoff push to entertain here, and they want Brown in it mentally. They want to get his confidence up so that when playoffs comes around, he can beat people one-on-one, and he can have these explosive games. I would not be surprised if in the playoffs we see Van Buren boys get a monster game from A.J. Brown. I'm calling it here right now, 30-plus points potentially.
Do we have a board bet?
I don't want to play him. I don't want to play him. I'm just saying, I don't want to play him.
Do we have a board bet? I will bet that he does not get 30 points at all for the rest of the season.
Wow.
Total?
No. for a single game. For a single week.
I'll tell you what, Klein. I'll make it fun for you. I will take that bet. I'll bet you that A.J. Brown has a 30-point game before the season's out.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! All right. No, he's not.
That can't be a straight-up bet, though. There's got to be odds to that.
We can discuss odds, but let's keep rolling with the show because I think we're kind of running behind, aren't we?
We're right on.
How are we on time?
We're
all right,
35 minutes in.
So what do you want to do for a bet then? What is your idea?
Gosh, we got. This won't be resolved until next year, though. Correct? Presumably, this wouldn't be resolved until week 17.
It's gonna go all through the rest of the season. Yeah.
I was going to guess I was going to throw out an ornament bet or something like that, but that wouldn't make any sense. Let's do a card bet.
Okay.
A $20, $25 auto card. Is that possible to find online somewhere?
Depends on who you want. Depends on the player that you want.
AJ Brown.
Of your choice.
I mean, if you want like a Calvin Johnson autographed card, you're not going to get that for $25.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Josh Rosen.
Yeah, you could probably find a Rosen for $25.
Yeah, like something goofy that would be memorable and relatable to that person. Like, for example, Matt, maybe I could find a, I don't know, some old goalie from the 90s on eBay
Okay.
with an auto.
I like
would
that
be-
bet. How about we could do goalie card of your choice?
Love it. Goalie card bet.
Goalie card bet. All right, we'll do it.
All right. No 30 points. We'll add that to the list next week. Let's take a look at the power ranking, should we?
Well, no, hold on one second before we
Backing up.
we can't leave this without discussing my pick to win the show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
We haven't touched the dog. It is the year of the dog. The Bills haven't put the division away yet. Haven't put anything away yet. Allen and Diggs are going to be on absolute fire in December, and the dog is going to woof his way to the trophy. Pull up his team for me.
Sure.
And they'll have Goddard back by then, probably.
Yeah. The year of the dog. Tua, Allen, Diggs, Miles Sanders, who I've been waiting to get hurt the whole year so I could use goddamn Kenny Gainwell. But he's had a great year. Pittman as his seventh player he needs to worry about. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but he's a consistent wide receiver. I mean, and Treylon Burks sitting on his bench, like that's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, Drake London.
A couple of trades in the deadline to pick up London. I think he picked up somebody else, maybe. Love is gonna be a good pickup too to give himself some insurance in case something crazy happens with Allen or Tua. I mean,
Yeah.
Yep. The dog.
Is he going 0 tight end this week, or what's his plan here?
No, got hurt and he picked up McBride to be in there. He's on a bye, so he might have. Did he pick somebody up?
No, he didn't.
No.
I'm
It
sure
looks like-
he'll
yeah,
get somebody before
he'll get
the week's
someone
out.
there.
I mean,
Just goes
Tight end
zero.
waiver wire is an absolute wasteland.
Tight end
Oh,
in general is a.
Yeah. I mean, I've been rotating 5 tight ends, and none of them are helping me.
yeah.
Klein, go to players, go to tight ends, and pull up the last scorers, the last scores of the week. Tight end, do all players, not just available.
Oh,
And go to
players
the
last
left.
week.
And then scroll over and sort by their score from last week.
Yeah. Sorry, it is. It's just a little cut off here. And
So your top scorers were
hold
Dalton
on.
Schultz,
Gonna see if we can
Jelani
do this.
Woods.
Maybe not.
Yeah, Jelani Woods.
Look at this. Look at this.
There we go.
Aiken.
Oh, I
2,
have
3, 4, 5 of the top 14 are on waivers. So in a position that's a shit show, we all still couldn't pick up to have the top 14 be on a rosters.
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolute shit show. But also,
It is.
like, you have Jelani Woods up here and Josh Oliver. Oliver was subbing in for, Andrews, right?
It's just
He was on the field at the same time.
Oh,
And likely more subbing in for likely, really.
Yeah.
so yeah. Okay, power rankings.
yeah.
Well, hold on. While we're on this topic, not to slow us down again, but let's get everybody else's picks. So I'll start with mine. I'm not going to pick my own team because I think that's kind of silly. for us.
Coward.
So I mean, here's the thing. If
Call your
I'm
shot.
picking it, if I'm picking a team, I'm going to pick my team. I want to win. But I think if we're picking another team, if I'm going to go for another like scary team that I'm concerned about or that I think has a chance to win, maybe not being talked about enough, I think it's crazy. It is. I think it's Muppet Nation.
Oh boy.
I'm a little scared of the nation because and there's a few reasons why. Number one, I think Herbert's been underperforming all year, and he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's right now number 9. He's got easily top 5 potential, even if potentially higher than that.
Just
Henry's been good all year. Debo is looking at an expanded role potentially now that Mitchell is out and McCaffrey is banged up. Olave, again, is number 14 receiver right now in the league. He's really good. Tight end is garbage on this team. I'm overlooking that. Aaron Jones, again, 7th overall running back in the league. Kenneth Walker, Mike's talked about him before, coming into his own, starting to put together some good weeks. If you look at his recent weeks lately,
Kenneth Walker, he's been a monster.
Yeah, he hasn't scored below 10 points since week 4.
He had like 20 yards last week. He got lucky to score 2 touchdowns.
Hey, but you know what, though?
But he scored 2 touchdowns.
It doesn't matter how you get them. And then Geno Smith has been the biggest surprise of the entire year in the NFL and in fantasy. So this is a team that is scary. They're built to win. I think they are a real threat. We don't talk about them enough, but they're a scary team. I think they got a good shot to win. Mike, who do you like?
I'm going to stick with my preseason pick, and I'm also think it's the year of the dog.
Year of the dog. I also happen to think it's the year of the dog. I'm mostly saying that to jinx Vince, though. You're welcome, Vince.
It doesn't work if you say that.
Well, then I guess it's the year of the dog. So wouldn't that be working if I say that? I'm saying it to jinx him, but if it doesn't, I'm right.
No, the jinx goes away if you say you're just saying it to jinx him.
But then I'm right. It's the year of the dog.
Oh, so you're putting a double jinx to be correct.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, double jinx.
I think that's a lot of superstition.
All right. Are we ready to move on to power rankings? Because we have some changes here. Some slight changes in the background. We got 1 through 14 here. Number 14, there's no change here. It's Trek. We're not even going to talk about him. Trek, thank you for your service this year. Number 13, some changes here though, Kevin. You've dropped down to number 13. How do you feel about that?
I win a game finally, and I nothing really to say. My team's been garbage. It's just been a year of injuries, and not the way I wanted to go. And we move on. We're on to next year.
Do you blame the bad juju on Michael Thomas?
No. Keenan Allen was a bigger deal to me than Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas would have been a nice, hey, throw up 12 to 15 points a game, but Keenan Allen was, hey, you're my one receiver with to run with Pittman, and him just completely disappearing after week 1 didn't help at all. So
did you have Keenan Allen before, or is this your first year with Keenan Allen?
No, I think I had Keenan Allen a couple years ago.
Okay. I asked that because I feel like, obviously going back to Jacob Montana, that was a Keenan Allen event. I feel like Keenan Allen and injuries kind of come up quite a bit in the show.
Correct.
So just maybe something to think about next year, Rafi.
You get those guys on discount that way.
Very true.
Number 12, Matt.
Yeah, Jay Walsh has kind of like fluctuated around these, the bottom half of the power rankings here. He's never really crept into the top 7. We've seen him at 8 and at 10, and now he's at 12. So, this is a team that is just kind of continuing to flounder. He's not really a competitive team, and so he's at 12.
Has those big boom weeks though occasionally. It's kind of funny.
He does. Number 11, Mike, take it away.
Brandon. Just really disappointing year out of Brandon. We're used to him being in the top 3. Really hasn't even sniffed that other than the preseason rankings. He's on to next year.
Yeah, he's a good sport for sticking with it. Number 10. Kevin, let's talk about the Charbacues.
Charbacues, along with myself and Trek, looking to rebrand over the summer, and he probably should. Still waiting for a pizza.
Number 9, Fat Jim's. Matt, talk about your brother dropping down to 9.
Yeah, this has been a gradual trend, I think. Ever since losing Cooper Kupp, he's just kind of been slipping in the rankings. He's been losing games, and that kind of has translated to him also, falling in the standings. Still has a ton of points that he has accrued, through good games and good wins earlier in the season when he was a formidable team. But those days are over, and at this point, I think he's in a tough spot. I mean, anything can happen in the playoffs, so you can't count him out entirely. But certainly not one of the scarier teams right now.
Mike, you're going to want to talk about number 8.
Yeah, I think the Derek Carr, DJ Moore trade coincided with this late season resurgence for the Flakes. As soon as he decided he wanted 2 quarterbacks in a 2-quarterback league, it's incredible that this team has suddenly started winning. So, I mean, it's you look at I mean, provided that he sets a full roster this week, like he's projected for like mid 120s. Like
Right.
This is not a team you want to play right now.
Just a little too late.
Exactly. I mean, it's a playoff caliber team, especially with Watson. I mean, I do think Watson's gonna be a little rusty this week, but this is not a team I would want to see in the playoffs.
I wonder if it's possible that perhaps Derek Carr injected some leadership into that team, sending away kind of a locker room cancer like DJ Moore onto, the Lafferty team, who's been, struggling since the trade as well. Now, those flip-flop, maybe it's just kind of like the quality of leadership that we got out of those players. Interesting to think about.
Talking about quality of leadership, let's talk about number 7, Matt.
Field Rush, yeah. I mean, I feel like I've talked about Field Rush till I'm blue in the face today.
Okay.
And I
we
think
can move
that
right
he's
to number 6 then. Talk about that.
a scary team. That's all I'll say. He's a scary team.
There's another team you want to talk about till you're blue in the face at number 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to talk about Lafferty. I think Lafferty is kind of got through a little bit of a tough stretch here, and where he was, kind of, not scoring many points and losing games. But, he encounters the biggest possible matchup he could have this week. Like, there's a reason why this is the game of the week in the show, because playoff implications are so heavy in this matchup. And, it's basically a win-and-in scenario for Lafferty. He's got to get a win this week if he wants to make the playoffs. Coming up short is not an option here for him.
Number 5. Kevin, talk about Make the Show Great Again being top 5 here.
That is surprising in the power rankings, but I mean, he's got the points to potentially get himself something to play for in week 14. Get himself a couple points. Hopefully, get a little bit of luck so we can jump over some teams that are, maybe falling out of the top 6. But he's got a pretty good team. Depends if Rodgers' thumb stays intact, but I feel like he's got a shot.
Number 4, Matt. Mike, talk about the Nation. Matt already said something about the Nation, but
yeah, the Nation, it's a good team. They pretty much put up mid 120s every week. In this league, that's 9 times out of 10 going to get you a win. So,
well, in my case, it's 6 times out of 12. So.
Yeah, but I mean that's why the 7th place rule was put in place, is for teams like you. So yeah, it's a good team. What the problem is that I do feel like their ceiling is capped. So I will say, once they get in the playoffs, they're not the scariest team that you would see.
All right, number 3, Kevin, VBB here. We're gonna go back up now.
Yeah, a team that we just kind of went over their pros and cons, and obviously being in the top 3 of the power ranking is better than being in the bottom 3. So we'll tip our hats off to the VBBs.
And Matt, we're gonna have you wrap it up with 2 and 1. Talk about My Team is Fine and then the Truckers.
Yeah, well, My Team is fine. Obviously, you guys have spoken your words of wisdom in regards to the year of the dog, and how he's got a very dangerous team, and I think that's absolutely accurate. I mean, he's got the most points in the league for a reason. It's not a fluke. So definitely not a team you want to see in the playoffs. Likely going to have his pick if he does not get the bye. So he's going to have a point of he's going to have the high ground, if you will, when it comes to the playoffs. So, and the thing of it is too is like, even if he doesn't get the bye, like if the bye goes to myself, for instance, I'm not choosing him in the second round anyway. So like, he's probably going to end up playing whoever I don't select, if I get the bye. So he's in a great spot. He's got a very good team. It's going to be very tough to beat. And then with the Truckers, again, I think there are definitely some injury concerns here at this point, namely with Christian McCaffrey. I think the depth is pretty good on my team right now. So it's not really an immediate concern. I think it's, we'll have to see what happens over the next couple weeks. I have kind of a softer matchup with Trek, certainly not a freebie, but probably the best chance I have to win all season. And, so if McCaffrey can't go, it's not a huge problem. And then I think my team is good enough that even without McCaffrey, even missing perhaps 2 guys, I can still finish in the top 7. So I think my look at finishing first overall is really good. And I think I'll need that in order to be able to have a chance to win this year, because that first overall seed is so important. So hoping to lock that up in the next couple weeks here.
All right, well, we got a few minutes left. Let's quickly run through next week. I've got your picks over here. Jay Walsh football team, Muppet Nation. We're all on the Nation here. Mike, anything else you want to say about that, or we can just move right on to the next game?
Nope, on to the next.
On to the next. Here we have the Flakes, Charbacues. Any playoff implications on this one, Kevin? Kevin, I think you just bounced. So I'll go to Matt.
Yeah, again, these teams need to win out in order to have any prayer, but I think this is more of a game where if we don't see Brian score a ton of points, it probably isn't going to matter one way or another. So, and we're on the Flutie Flakes, I think, everybody this week.
Yeah,
right?
everyone's on the Flakes.
Yeah.
Here's a game where we've got a little bit of a mix between Rafi Bombs and Fat Jims. Mike, you're on Rafi, and Matt and I are on the Jims.
Yeah, I think he pulls the upset this week.
All right. Matt, anything else to say?
No, I think he doesn't pull the upset.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a close game, and
Fat Jims needs to win that.
Very, very close. Very close.
Make the show great again against Lafferty. We're all on Make the Show Great Again here. Mike, talk about the problems you're going to be facing here, just real quick.
Yeah, I alluded to it earlier. It's a tough week to have buys. Kyler's on bye. DJ Moore's on bye. Rondell Moore's on bye. So, we're going to need some big performances out of our big boys to make this
need a big performance out of Quez.
Ramondre is going to have a great game against the Bills. He's going to need another one of those 8-catch performances or get in the end zone. Jefferson's going to have at least 25 points probably against the Jets. Andrews is going to have to show up and be normal Mark Andrews, not 10-point Mark Andrews. So, yeah, I think a lot's going to have to go Lafferty's way in order to win, because Make the Show Great Again has, a good team with, some players that are
good matchups,
ready to pop off at any moment. Yeah, some exciting matchups. T. Higgins against KC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle for sure.
My team is fine in NWO, despite the projection being so close here. I mean, given that Vince is missing a tight end here, but I don't think that's really going to change much. I think it will be a close game, but we're all on fine.
Yep.
All of us on my
Hello,
team's
Zoe.
fine. I just think Josh Allen and Tua are going to be too much to handle for the NWO. And then we have Truckers, Trek.
This one, blowout, right?
Slaughter.
I mean, it's one of those things where, Trek's going to have another huge game out of Christian Watson. He's going to have that supplemental group with CeeDee Lamb, Ayuk, McLaurin. They're going to have to each probably get at least 15 points or so.
His team sucks.
Here's the thing, though. If things bounce his way, he can win. Like, I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, I don't think it's likely, but
You can say that about every week.
I mean, it's true.
You say it about
You-
everyone. All right.
You can lose any week. You can lose any week. Any team can beat you.
We're moving on. VBB, Rush, Mike. Again, you're playing contrarian here. Matt and I are on Feel the Rush, and you hate Feel the Rush right now. You're completely against them.
with a burning passion. Yes.
Yeah. So you're going BBB.
Well, we talked about this pre-show. I mean, now that we've had a chance to talk about it, do you feel any less strongly about your convictions here with the Van Buren boys?
No.
You still think that even with like Christian Kirk, Tyler Boyd, this team is going to Feel the Rush?
I think if Fields plays, it's going to make a huge difference. Yes.
So let's say Fields doesn't play, would you select Feel the Rush?
Yes.
Okay. That's fair.
Interesting.
No, wait, no, I wouldn't. No, I'm picking on the expectations that Fields doesn't play, but I think if he does play, I think it's a lock that he wins.
Wow.
Oh. Okay. So you're kind of flexing that choice there. All right.
No, it's a set choice.
Well, however you want to set it, I think you're going to win this year. You're up 57. You have 57 wins to your 27 losses. Matt has 54 wins, and I am completely out of the picture with 47. So I think you're gonna win the pick the show, but there's still one more week left. All right, before we go, we have a Pokemon for next week. 2009.
Cedric Benson.
That was quick. This AFC running back was picked up by D. Williams the Pussy, acquired subsequently after D'Angelo Williams got injured, and his presence did not help Rob in his loss in the semifinals. You're so convicted on Cedric Benson.
I'm just looking at the hair. AFC Central running back, played for the Bengals in the second half of his career after being with the Bears. Just, I feel good about it.
It's a good guess.
2009.
Yeah. I think that's the right time frame for him.
Interesting.
Might be a little bit late. It might be a little bit late.
I feel like
But I think that's
was earlier.
I
Anyhow,
think that's a pretty good guess.
we only have a few seconds left, so we'll review that next week. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Really, really happy for Team USA advancing on the knockouts.
Yeah, close call, very close game. Lots of chances for Iran late. Like they had a header that almost went in, and then they had one squeak through the goaltender's legs, and it was almost a penalty called as well. So like it was close.
It was a good no call by the ref. That was not.
I think it was, but you don't want to leave it in the ref's hands either. Like it was definitely. They were really pushing at the end there.
All right, gentlemen, we'll catch you next week. Thanks for watching the ShodCast.